Welcome, hello world, hello to all our fellow travellers. I'm Helen Taylor. Welcome to the inspired radio series You Are Supernatural. I'm here with you every Monday for conversations and stories, not only to entertain you, but to wake something up. We're going to talk about cycles, programs, energy, healing, out of body experiences, ghosts, dimensions, telepathy, patterns, conversations to bend our reality at the edges. So let's get started. This week, my guest is Kylie Hakem. Kylie has always known there was more to her life than what could be seen by the physical eye. From a young age, she experienced vivid dreams and a deep sensitivity to energy and the natural world. And through these gifts, they were very much understood, and we'll get into that as well. Misunderstood, I should say. As a young adult, she followed a conventional path, marrying, raising three children, and building a career, but an inner knowing continued to call her towards something deeper. 6 years ago, that calling became impossible to ignore. After years working in animal-based vaccine development, the events surrounding COVID prompted Kylie to question everything she thought she knew. Anybody relating to that? I'm sure you all are. Trusting her intuition, she sold her home, bought a caravan, took her children out of school, and embarked on a journey around Australia. Along the way, she reconnected with her innate gifts and awakened her life's purpose. Welcome, Kylie.
Hello, Helen. How are you?
What a story.
I know. I have to pinch myself sometimes too. Yeah.
Well, I think everybody out there, as I alluded to, can relate to this, right?
Absolutely.
Firstly, let's look at childhood. Like, we've talked, you and I, before doing this show, but you had things going on for you when you were t around 10 years old. Tell
Mm.
us about it. What was going on?
I think I was having experience. Well, I don't think I was having experiences and a lot of dreams. And I would always try and talk to mum and dad about it. And it got to the point, I suppose, where mum and dad sort of started to be concerned about my well-being and mental health. And they did everything that they could and within their power to sort of support me. But I guess I got funneled into sort of the medical system
Yeah.
and
So you were
treatment and
seeing
evaluations. Yeah.
you were seeing the unseen world. You were seeing the energy of this world, and you had
Mm.
parents that weren't very engaged in the energy of this world. Is that right?
Yeah, we actually grew up. Most of my childhood was spent in sort of rural Victoria in a home that was haunted. We did have it was a gentleman that would come in and out. I believe he was a possibly an old swagger, like that just lived in the bush, swaggy that lived in the
Okay.
bush.
Okay.
And mum was aware of that presence too, and we did have things that would happen in the house, but and we would talk about it, but I think it got to the point where I was sort of looking for more and more answers and trying to get support with the dreams and the things that were happening with me. And that's when I think they started to get concerned about my mental
Kind of
health, I
you
suppose.
reached their limits, and the only kind of avenue they had was the health industry, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I started to think that there was something wrong with me too. And I guess that's what sort of shuts everything down because when
Well,
you
when you're
yeah,
10 years old and you're watching a lot of adults looking at you with frowns on their faces and not understanding what you're about,
yeah.
that would be certainly very disconcerting for a child.
That's right. That's right. So I think that was a whole process on its own, going through different medical evaluations and that sort of thing to try and ascertain where I was at. And in the end, they ended up medicating me, and that lasted like it was a journey for the larger part of my life, I suppose, as a younger woman. And then those things progressed as I sort of matured.
What things do you mean, those things?
In terms of like having mental health issues, do you know what I mean? It
Right.
was a
Yes.
progression of things. Once you get onto that sort of medication and come off it, there's all sorts of issues trying to recalibrate your system. And so it's taken me a long time to completely move away from all of that and start to trust.
What a journey.
Um, mm,
What a journey. So, from a young age, you're put on medication, and that
yeah,
went into your young adulthood as well. So,
yeah.
on and off, on and off. Um,
Hmm.
Boy, I mean, that's getting caught up in the system or the program, as I call it. Yes.
I think the big part too is that like 10 up to 10, there, it's such foundational years of understanding and learning yourself within yourself. And so when I guess the message comes back to you repeatedly that there's something wrong and how do we manage
You're
it?
broken. You're broken. Yeah.
Yeah, then that becomes a very lot, a path of unlearning,
Mhm.
um, to start to trust yourself and step out of that and go, actually, I don't think there is. I just need to understand what's actually happening within myself.
Mm.
And I guess once I took that step and said, no, that's it, I've had enough, um, that's when the ship started to turn. Yeah.
So while you were medicated and stuff all those years as well, were you still having the dreams? Were you still having that connection with source or spirit, or did it shut all that down?
I used to have a lot of physical, like in the physical reality experiences, I would see a lot of things. I'd
Mm.
see ships, I would see things and I would feel things. And I guess I wasn't it would frighten me. I had a lot of fear around that because I thought there was something.
I've just lost you there, Kylie. I hope we connect again because that's really interesting stuff going on there. There you are. You're back with us.
Okay.
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure what happened then.
No, maybe one of those ghosts just dropped in, hey?
Yeah.
Well, I was just saying to everyone, I hope we reconnect again because it's just a beautiful part of your story, what you're explaining right now. So, you were in and out of medication for a long, long time, but still having these experiences as well. I think that's incredible because, most people that are on a spiritual path or whatever think that they need to be clean and their body needs to be clean and the
It's
mind
fun.
needs to be clean and it's like, I can relate as well, being a drug addict, ex-drug addict and everything else, even while I was on drugs and things. Oh gosh, I've lost her again.
I'm back.
You're
There
back.
we go.
Yeah. I was just saying that even while I was on drugs, I was having, experiences with auras and energies and all sorts of things. And even though you were medicated, it didn't stop source, it didn't stop spirit. It was still happening. Yeah. So you went in
And
cycle.
I think I was quite guided. Yeah, and I think I was quite guided through that process. I've always sort of felt like, as much as things were challenging at times, I've always felt like I'm protected. That's a very strong theme for me since I was little.
Right.
That even though things are challenging, I probably didn't understand that it was happening for a reason. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have it all put together.
Yes.
But looking back, there's a whole series, it happens in everyone's life where there are moments that you go, oh, well, that makes sense now. And you can start to put the pieces together.
Joining the dots, I call it.
Mm,
Absolutely. And, you know,
mm,
I mean, no matter how extreme or not, I mean, this is just such a repeated pattern for so many of us that came into this world and walked straight
mm,
into trauma of some sort, had no
mm,
support, no encouragement, and got caught up in a whole bunch of programs and then start to
mm.
cycle ourselves back out of it. Yeah.
That's right. And like my parents were Catholic, and I was brought up fully like indoctrinated in the Catholic Church.
Mhm.
And um, you know, periods of my life I'd move away from the church and try other churches. I was looking for answers the whole
Right.
way through. I never stopped looking. And then things started to open up for me more and more and more. And then I guess the traveling was like, I didn't know it at the time, but it was like I was doing grid work and I didn't even understand that. I was just going wherever we would take, wherever the
Hang on,
wind
hang
would
on, hang
take
on,
us.
hang on. The traveling you're talking about, you've just jumped into the future.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's all right. This is with you and the kids. We'll get into
Yes.
it. we will get into
Okay.
that, okay?
Okay.
But you followed like the conventional path, right? You had this other part of you operating energetically with
Mhm.
supportive guidance, feeling that support and having those experiences,
Yeah.
but you weren't being recognized. The rest of the world wants you to walk a conventional path, don't they?
Mm.
So that's
Mm.
when, you just went, all right, okay, I have to get married, I have to have kids, I have to do that thing. Yes?
Yeah, and not doing those things, sort of you felt like you were outside of society, or you weren't achieving, or you weren't, there's sort of conditions unspoken in sometimes, and other times they're made very clear what those conditions are. But absolutely, that's been part of me wanting, people pleasing, or wanting to, make things right,
Yes.
not have conflict. So you sort of just toe the line and do the things that you feel that you should do, but without
Well,
necessarily going deeper. Yeah.
yeah, we want to be accepted by the tribe, but we also want to be able to explore our own path. And
Mm,
and thank you for stepping up and doing that, because I think that you've been an integral part of starting to navigate these two worlds
mm,
that are pretty obvious these days, but they certainly weren't back when you were a 10-year-old or even when you were a 20 or 30-year-old, right?
mm, mm.
So, okay, tell me about the vaccine stuff, the animal-based vaccine.
Oh, okay. So it's so funny, isn't it, really? You look back and you go, oh my goodness. So I started my career in the Department of Ag back in the day, and I was in a research science field working across multiple species. So from chickens and cats, not cats, chickens and cows, not, sorry, Helen, chickens, pigs, sheep, all that sort of thing. So, and part of my job was
Farm
I was
animals, farm animals.
farm animals, and I was placed into they were running some trials on immunocastration in pigs, and I was placed up in on the border on site to monitor those trials and be involved in the recording of all the data. And
When
I
you
understood,
when you say on the border, you're talking about country Victoria.
yeah, so up on New South Wales, Victorian border, yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha.
There was
Okay.
a very large piggery up there on site, big processing plant as well. And so that's where I was placed for 12 months while we ran trials on immunocastrating male pigs for market.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and
And
looking back,
that's via vaccines. Is that what you're saying?
yes, yes. So we were vaccinating pigs, male pigs, to avoid the physical trauma of castration, so that they would go to market. As pigs mature, they have hormones, particularly male pigs, that taint the meat, which makes it less pleasant to eat. And so they started creating vaccines to um, castrate the pigs rather than having
So
to
they
do it.
wouldn't release that hormone and the meat would be what people were looking for.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, never in a million years, Kylie, did I think I was ever going to have a conversation like this.
Well, that's the irony, isn't it? Like, you don't understand the things at the time, and I was like very much in the system. And that's why I relate to others that are still there in that space.
Yes.
And it's not judgment. It can't be, because I had to go through that path. I had to walk that path myself. So the people that are still operating and in that reality, this two world sort of reality, it's I've still I've walked that path. And so fast forward to COVID, and then I'm like, you can't, it takes 5 to 7 years minimum to get a vaccine to market. Like, it just, the trials and everything that is required is so rigorous.
Yep.
And there's a amount of paperwork and papers and peer reviewed, like, it's a big process. And so when, it was announced within such a very short window that there were vaccines available, I'm like,
Okay, so what you're saying is from
mm,
your own personal experience,
yes,
the animal vaccination industry,
yeah.
you knew the procedures, right? And along comes COVID. So were you just pre-COVID, were you still locked up in that system and thinking? that
I'd
that
sort, yeah, I'd moved into the dairy industry. I was working in the dairy industry, but not from a research point of view. I was more involved in the stock feed side of things, and putting antibiotics into the feed and additives and pharmaceuticals and all that sort of stuff. So there's been a whole process, and then I got to the point where this is probably pre-COVID, where I started to go, this is not for me anymore. And
And what was flagging? What was sort of nudging at you? What was it, the ingredients that were in there? It what was you were doing to animals? What was starting to tap on your
it
shoulder?
probably wasn't even the work so much as within myself.
Mhm.
I just didn't feel aligned
Okay.
because I love the farmers and I love the connections, and you know, I loved my job and loved the interactions, but there was something that just wasn't lining up for me, and I felt called. And my partner at the time, I was gonna buy and create a wellness center, which didn't sort of take off, and I was not ready. Looking back, I was never going to be ready at that point for that, and it never came to pass. And then we went into COVID. So I'd already stepped away, was thinking, I could have a multidisciplinary wellness center where we could have maybe some open-minded traditional um, medical support aligned with more alternative, like in the same space.
Sure.
And that's what I was wanting to create. And it never came to pass, that partnership.
I
Right.
think it's so interesting, right? Because I remember myself when I kind of woke back up, because I,
Mm,
had that journey like you where you conformed, and then every now and then you pushed back and you went, no,
yes.
I want to do my own way, and then you'd
Yeah.
conform again.
Yeah.
Um, but I think when I really started waking up to the spiritual side of life, the first thing I wanted to do was open up a wellness center. And I hear it from so many people. It's like, we just want to go big. We just want to go
Yeah.
big,
Well,
right?
we just want everyone to come along with us,
Yes.
like it's a community thing, and you're looking for those connections, you're wanting to
Oh,
support people,
yes.
and
Yes.
that's where it sort of started, and it obviously didn't get off the ground. And
That was
then,
round one, wasn't it? Round one.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. But having said that, in that process, I I got myself an ABN and I set myself up as a business, and I did it. So again, that was all foundational for where I am now. And I didn't have a clue then where I'd been. Like, it's just amazing how things unfold.
Well, when you think about it that way, because hindsight, I find, is a very, very beautiful thing.
Mm,
Look back, and not many people do. And it's lovely. I've heard you say it a few times now that you've started putting the pieces together. Um,
mm,
that 10-year-old, was she getting you ready for this?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How?
There's something innate. There's something innate because she's still with me.
Mhm.
She's still part of who I am.
Mhm.
And I think she had the vision and the foresight.
Oh,
And, she was the one. And I've got goosebumps just saying that. Like, she was the one that saw the path, and little old me, in the physical didn't quite understand. And it has been a hard road, but it's not, everybody has a story, everybody. And it's always peppered with challenges because that's what actually makes us grow. Like, the things that challenge us the most are the ones that create the growth.
well, the old world was full of a lot of programming. Mum and dad,
Mm,
everyone around us was caught in that programming and accepting it in
yeah,
one way or another.
yeah.
Someone like you is challenging that programming and wanting innately to get back to nature, to who you are, and to that
Mm.
10-year-old who, it sounds like she's been sitting in the background quietly driving this thing for a long, long time, right?
Patiently sitting there going,
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
you've had to break free of a lot of, programming, a lot of limitations
Mm,
in order to, keep getting braver and braver to navigate unknown paths. Would that be right?
mm. Yeah. But having said that, I've always been like, once something feels right, whether it was in the past and in the programmed sort of approach,
Yep.
once something felt right, and I'll go. Like, there wasn't any stopping me. I'll put my foot down, and that's it. We're going in that direction now. So once I start to uncover where, the purpose or the path, even if it's the wrong one, because I believe that, we all making mistakes is part of the journey. And if you don't make it, you narrow down the path, the more mistakes you make, the clearer the right path becomes.
Well, thinking that you make a mistake is a mistake.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
I've
exactly
learned,
right. Yeah,
and through experience, like you're saying, you learn that there are no mistakes, right? It's,
that's right.
you're just, you got that 10-year-old steering you and going, keep going, it's okay.
That's it. Yeah, that's right.
So tell me then, okay, we come up to COVID, you're working
Mm,
in the industry. What
mm.
happened? What happened to make this enormous shift that happened with you?
I just, to be really truthful about it, I knew that if I didn't make some very significant changes, I would probably be burying a child. My kids
That's
were really struggling with everything.
yep.
I was struggling. I knew that nothing was making sense. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? What have I got to lose? And so that's when I decided. And plus, one of my daughters came home and told me that they'd put a kitty litter in the girls' toilets at the high school. And I went,
What
you know
did
what? We're out.
what did that mean?
For kids that identified or girls that identified as a cat.
Oh, okay. So all of the ideology was leaking into school, and okay,
Yeah,
so your kids were being confronted
yeah,
with having to accept, strange and new ideas, basically.
yeah. And I said, well, this is it. This is not for us. This is not what we're going to do. And I started to research. I put the house straight on the market
Right.
because I'm like, okay, I can't just pull the kids out and homeschool. We did it as a family. We all made these decisions as a family, and so I ended up enrolling them in a virtual school.
Hmm.
And so we travelled and they studied online as we travelled. And the way that all came together, the way the house sold, the way the caravan and the car presented itself, like it was huge. But I knew it was right. And as I was frightened, like I'm on my own with three, middle teenage sort of kids.
Yep.
And everybody, like a lot of people thought I was crazy
Yep.
then. And I just thought, well, this will make us or break us. We're going to do it anyway.
What an adventure. What an absolute adventure, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are full of courage, that's for sure. Well, what you're saying, what I'm hearing you saying is that it all started lining up for you.
Mm.
And when you're saying that the house sold, it's just like all this, what people would call coincidences or
Yeah.
synchronicities or something. The house
Yeah.
sold, the caravan turned up, that car turned up, and everything just fell into place.
Mm. And as much as there was an element of fear,
Yep.
which is something you work through once you start to identify where that's coming from, I still, I'd already started to trust myself more. I'd already started to go, I'm being guided. I wasn't seeing things as coincidental. I
Yep.
was starting to see things as purpose, like things, this is outside of my, like this is just happening and it's happening for me. It's not happening to me. And that's when I started to really step into the trust process. And there was still fear, don't get me wrong, there was still fear, but
I
yeah,
know, I hear you, but what you're saying is knowing. You
yeah, I
knew,
knew, I knew.
and the unfortunate thing about knowing, firstly, it is so powerful, so it overrides fear. It overrides what everybody else has got to say, but
Yeah.
you can't explain it.
No, and I just knew it was the right thing to do.
Yes, yes. Fantastic. So you hit the road,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We did. We sort of camped up on the Victoria New South Wales border for about a month
Mhm.
because our caravan looked like a container of just like we just like we're going, and so we got ourselves a bit organized up there, and there was a bit of a decompression process as we were adjusting to this massive change, and then we just went.
Mm.
And
Four
we
people in a caravan.
yeah I just
Interesting.
it was a huge caravan. It was a big four like quad bunk caravan.
Mhm.
And so I had the three kids with their beds, and then one of it was like for store, clothes and stuff. And mm,
Fantastic. So the whole world just turned upside down and inside out. Yeah.
Hmm.
How
Yeah.
did you then start to um, have these experiences about, like, let me just put it out there, Yowies in the bush, you know?
Yeah, that was probably a little bit later. That was probably later. At the time, we were having experiences as a family. The kids, all of the things that from this point on was happening to us as a family.
And
So
what was
things that
that?
were, well, we were, there was one time as we were coming across the Nullarbor, we'd walked up to the end, like it was just a huge cliff off the end, and there was a like a tourist spot, and there was all these tourists there. And we got out and had a look around. And next thing, there's this World War II plane that has just appeared out of nowhere. And the four of us are there looking at this plane and going, what the hell? Like, we are in the middle of nowhere. There's no airports, there's no nothing. And like to my son, take the photos, start taking photos. Like, this is what? The tourists did not see it, had no idea. And we're like, oh my God, oh my God. Anyway, this plane flew past us and did like a wingtip, and then I don't know why, and then it just sort of flew past us and disappeared.
So hang on
And
a minute. It's not just there sitting on the ground. You are seeing it in the air and
we could
flying,
hear it, everything. It was very, very physical, very real,
and
except
no one
nobody else.
else was taking any notice. So this is dimensional you're talking
Yeah,
about.
absolutely. And
Okay.
I've had this dimensional stuff happening all my life, but
Right,
no one else was seeing it with me.
right. Now she's being brave.
Now,
She's telling
now I'm
us.
starting to get validation, and the kids are seeing it too. And it's like, okay. And when we eventually got the photos and zoomed in and had a look, it wasn't a plane, it was like a UFO,
Right.
which had obviously projected that image for us. But it was very friendly. It wasn't scary. It was just like quite bizarre. And we also had another experience in Exmouth, which I'm not sure whether you want me to share that or not, but we were leaving.
You bet. Can I just say something though before you
Mm,
get into that? Thank you, thank you, thank you for being so brave and coming out and saying that
yeah,
because pr- around the time that COVID was coming out, I had already recognized that I had withdrawn enough from the old system where I felt like I was in a parallel reality.
yeah,
But I didn't have the words for it. All I felt was is that some of the outside world couldn't see me anymore.
yeah.
And I've been carrying that now for 6 years very strongly, telling
Mm,
people that, it's a new reality, step into it. Thank
mm.
you so much because you're just saying out loud what I've been experiencing for 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't know that at the time because I've had these experiences my whole life.
Right,
So
right.
I'm just like, okay, and off and on all my life. So this is nothing new for me, but it's
Got
new
it.
for the kids.
Got it. Hmm.
And so I'm just like, okay. So I've always felt different, always felt not quite part of the group. Do you know what I mean? Because of,
Multi-dimensional,
but
multi-dimensional. That's you.
that's a label I had, or even a concept that I had not come across.
Yes.
I
Right.
just thought it was something with
Yep.
me. I didn't understand that at the time. And so, and we had a lot of smaller, I kept a diary. So I wrote all this stuff down, and then I've started to write like a bit of a book just to, for me to start to understand what all these experiences are meaning. And
Mhm.
so that's sort of expanded me further because I've taken responsibility or taken ownership of those experiences rather than deny them or
Yep.
feel like there's something wrong with me or what has had happened. So yeah, it's been
Fantastic.
incredible.
But life had to take you away from the
Mhm.
society, so to speak, in
Yeah.
order to open you up to these experiences. Yeah. It's
Mm.
like confirmation time.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Wow.
I also, while I was on the road, I did engage like with a spiritual mentor, someone that I was sort of connecting with via Zoom regularly.
Mhm.
And I would journey with them and meditate and discover parts of myself. But it was me seeking um, more understanding, more knowledge about myself
Yes.
through that process. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think I was being activated as I was traveling. I didn't know that then. I had no idea then. But that's what I was saying before, I was, whether I was certain places had certain frequencies that I was required to embody. So I would, I turned up at these places, but I had no idea at the time. It's only retrospectively that it makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. You were tuning in and tuning out of different
Mm.
portals, realities, dimensions. I mean, our language doesn't do a hell of a lot for any of this stuff. We
No.
just try to put words to it, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Then what?
Do you want me to tell the Exmouth story or do you want me to?
Absolutely. Yes.
So
Yes.
we're leaving Exmouth. It's a very, very hot day and it's very, very windy and it's very early. So it's probably about 6:30 in the morning and we're heading out. It's a long way out of anywhere to get to the next destination. Anyway, so we're traveling down the highway and there's cars, people overtaking us because we're in a caravan. And then the next thing I'm looking down the road and the horizon, and from the mid horizon all the way to the ground, everything started to pixelate. So like the road, the hills, everything, the sky, and that was fine, but just in the mid horizon and down. And I'm like to the kids, can you see that? Can you kids see that? And they said, see what? I said, just you tell me, can you see that? And then they started to get a bit elevated, but we also noticed that the wind stopped and the temperature dropped from about 32 degrees down to about 20 degrees.
Mhm.
And all the cars sort of disappeared. We had no cars. And this stayed happening for about 20 minutes. And then we're just observing it. No, we didn't think to take a photo or a video or anything like that. We were too busy. I was trying to calm the kids down and also say, everything's fine. We're fine. We're just driving. There's nothing to worry about. I'm not
What did
sure.
you have to calm them down from?
They were panicking because it was such a physical experience. Like
Okay,
it's
so
like, what are we driving into? Like what's happening
yeah,
out? What's happening?
because the
And
temperature dropped, because you could see the pixelation, they were seeing the pixelation too.
we were all seeing the pixelation, the wind dropped, the temperature dropped, and we put our hand out the window to make sure that the temperature in the car, like all of that.
Yep.
And yeah, 20 minutes later or so, all of a sudden the temperature came back up, the wind, because we had a big, set up. So we were getting buffeted again, and then a car overtook us, and I'm like, what just happened? And the pixelation left, like it would just return to normal.
Yeah.
And we pulled over and we like jumped in the van and got ourselves a drink or coffee and had something to eat and just tried to, and we're
Ground
like,
yourselves again somehow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. So what was it?
I don't know. I looking back, I think it was probably another Matrix type of
A
experience.
glitch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm,
I mean, what is happening in this world that we're living in at the moment, hey?
that's right.
Pretty
And
incredible.
and I think it's more about question things and things aren't always as they seem. And I think we've been conditioned or programmed to always move into fear
Mm,
when we don't know something
mm,
or we don't understand something. Our reaction is to be fearful of it
yeah.
instead of curious or investigative or, exploratory. In that we tend to pull back and be fearful. And I think that limits us too.
Well, it just shuts down the flow.
Mm.
It shuts down. I don't know. I don't. I just love this. I love this, Kylie. Like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was going to have a conversation like this with you today.
Well, that's sort of what, led up to I guess the walks that I started doing when I got back from traveling.
So, how long were you out and about around Australia?
It's
You and
about 12 months or so.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And what called you back then?
It was the kids. We were leaving Uluru and we came to the intersection, the T intersection on the Stewart Highway. We were turning left to go to Queensland. The kids are like, come on, it's the school holidays. We'll just go back. We'll just visit. And I knew all my body when I stuck that indicator on to turn right, that something significant happened. There was a big shift. I just knew that what I thought was the future was going to look like wasn't going to be like that. And we went across 3 states within 3 days, saw 3 different sunsets or sunrises in 3 different states. And yeah,
So
we came back to Victoria.
left was for Queensland, and right was to come back home.
To Victoria, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So you flicked the indicator on right, saw 3 sunsets over 3 states, and made your way back home for your children because you
Yeah,
knew it was the right thing to do.
yeah.
Good. Hmm.
And here we are.
And I'm sure you didn't get back into the vaccine industry when you got.
No, no, it took a little bit for us to touch the ground, and I just rented a little farmhouse for a year, and then the kids were getting jobs and cars and all that sort of stuff, and one thing sort of led to the other, and then I found a little post-war place shack locally, and I thought, okay, well, I've got a bit of money left over, we'll buy that.
Mhm.
And I asked permission first. I came onto the property and sat quietly first and wanted to make sure that it was okay for me to be here and was I welcome. And and then yeah, we moved in and I renovated the whole thing and ended up selling the caravan and the car, which is a very big step. But that doesn't mean it's the end. It's just looks a bit different now. And yeah, so I'm in Victoria and I started the walks.
So
And that's when,
tell us about the walks. This is beautiful. So, firstly, you've gone from a woman who spent the predominant part of her life focusing on the outside world and
mm,
everybody in it to now being all about energy, energy,
yeah,
energy everywhere.
yeah. And I think I have a very close friend and we would walk a lot. And at that time, I was spending a lot of time uh, absolutely sponging up all of Rachel Vaughan's work when it came to ley lines and recognizing ley lines. And I was so like I knew like it was something just like I can't even think of the right word, innate sort of like this is amazing. I have to explore this.
Sure.
And started walking and in the bush, taking lots of photos. And then the first time I saw in the bush a ley line, like for myself, that's when the magic happened. And we started having experiences in the bush from like we were walking down one particular track and there was a stick in the middle of the track. I'm like, well, that's interesting. Wonder what that could be. And it was like really weird. It was a track that is very rarely walked. And I said to my friend, oh, I wonder what that is. And she goes, oh, I don't know. Anyway, so we went around it and just had a very strong feeling not to go left, but to follow the track around to the right. And I did feel uneasy at the time. Anyway, a little bit later, we did another walk at another very significant location to me personally, and it was a dawn thing. We'd gone there the night before or the day before, but there was some sort of tourist event on, and there were people everywhere. We couldn't get a car park, and I'm like, no, we'll come back at dawn. So we got there just on dawn. There was no one around, no one in the car park, and it was actually at Mount Macedon at the cross at Mount Macedon. That's a very very energetic place. And I'm just remembering the experience now. And as we've turned around to walk out, there was something pacing us on the right, just in the bush, just out of our vision, and it was verbalizing. So it was you could hear it walking. We'd stop, and it would stop, and I actually went a little bit fearful.
So what
Like
you're
what?
saying is there's an energy and you can
Mm.
hear it. Yeah.
And it's communicating with us.
And you can feel it.
Not so much feel it. It felt more physical. It felt more of a physical, and I didn't know what was going on. And my friend, God bless her, she was like, "It's okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for guarding this place." She didn't know what was going on either. But we got back to the car park. We tried to unpack what had happened, and within I don't know, a week or so, I'd booked to speak to Rachel. I'm like, I've got to talk to Rachel. I don't know what all of this, the ley lines, these experiences that are happening when I'm in the bush.
Yep. Oh, I'm with you now. Okay, so you're starting to open up. So you've gone and had that experience with the stick, and it's
Yeah.
you're feeling energies, you're feeling turn right, turn left, don't go there, do go there. So you're
Yeah.
starting to tune into the nature itself,
Yes,
right? And that's what
absolutely. Yeah.
so that's what happened with the stick. It was, you were starting to, I don't know, your inner radar.
Yeah, something was absolutely like it was like there was something happening within me and something that I needed answers for. And I remember sending these photos to Rachel and wanting to have a meeting with her, like a reading to help me understand. And
Yep.
I'd sent her all the photos from Mount Macedon. Anyway, we're sitting there, we're chatting away in the middle of the reading, and I said, I just don't. She goes, "It's a Yowie." I went, and that was like one of the biggest aha moments of my life, and I nearly fell off the chair, and and I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a microfiche event where I went back to childhood, and it's like all of these experiences or like things that have happened, that connection has been there
Wow.
my whole life. I just didn't know it.
Right. That was more like the 10-year-old going, Yay, you're
Finally.
free.
Jeez, it's taken a while. But and then and so I get very excited when I talk about ley lines, and I'm in the bush. Um and I get very excited when I um experience that with other people, and when they see a ley line or see the electromagnetic field, see the energy for the first time. Like that is just it's very, very exciting. And that my first time, like I'd seen it all on photos and been on the courses with Rachel, but walking down this track and that moment when we went, oh my goodness, we are in a ley line. Look at this. And within very short period of time, a big fat wombat just walked in across the track, and I'm like trying to take a photo, but I couldn't because I was too like excited. And he just like looked at me and said, "You'll get it event," and just wandered off into the bush. But it's like magic happens, magic happens, and nature spirits are real, and these interdimensional beings like Yowies or the Dulagar is another name for them. They're real and they're guardians of these places. Yeah.
We just both need to just have a moment there. As that, you know, thank you. Thank you so much. People like you are starting to bridge the two worlds and
Mm,
starting to share what you know, because everyone has to start recognizing energy. We're
mm,
focusing way too much on, I know the last I've looked, it's 0.036% of everything is actually matter.
mm,
Cool. The rest
mm.
is energy. So
Yeah.
you're now tuning into nature, you're tuning into the energy, and you're heralding that for so many people to start
Mm,
waking that part of themselves up. Yeah.
mm,
Do it with a bit of fun and do it
yeah.
with a bit of exploration to start off with.
Mm.
Um, and then you'll do exactly what Kylie's done and open up a great big fat door.
Well, all of this sort of kept going and happening, and I ended up going to the Cosmic Consciousness Conference a couple of years ago at Uluru,
Yep.
and I met Haley Wallace, and then I ended up going, okay, well, this feels right too, and I ended up running a workshop here at home. Haley came down. There were a number of people here, and then I started on like the land healing work. So I've sort of integrating all of the work, or no, it's not work, all of the awareness of what's sort of led me to this point, and
Mhm.
then ended up going on to do level 2 and offer land healing as well. So that's part of, I guess, expanding upon um, what's sort of evolved naturally. It's just a further
Yeah.
evolution.
And
Yeah,
please tell people, I think it's really, really important. I mean, we've got a lot of woke culture, a lot of ideology out of there, even the whole, and I have the deepest respect for all races on this planet, but the whole,
yeah,
ancestry thing with our Indigenous people and paying respect and all that sort of stuff. It's about paying respect to the land. Tell us about what you've learned now energetically, because you've alluded to it a couple of times, asking for permission and those
Mm.
sorts of things. Tell us about your experience with that and how important it is.
Well, I think that we haven't been taught to connect with nature, with the bush. Like we are part of it. We're symbiotic. Like we can't exist without it, and it can't exist without us.
Well, we
And
are
we're
it, aren't we? Aren't we it as well?
that's we are it. And so we're so removed from nature. Most people are living on concrete and high-rise buildings or homes with, we're removed from that natural setting. And I think that the more you step into that natural setting, you're creating, reconnecting again and calibrating your system. And so, whether it's walking in the bush or land healing, you're recognizing that the land plays a pivotal part and the energy of the land. If there's been big old trees that are removed, then they're gonna leave a wound on the earth that needs to be healed, or supported to heal. Things that happen, if you brought up the indigenous culture that, and the colonization of this country, things were done and happened on the land that are still stuck in that space, and sometimes they need support to clear that land. And
All has a consciousness. Everything has a
everything has a consciousness, and I guess more mainstream people might be looking for land healing if they've got some issues in the house. You walk in and into a place and something doesn't feel right and they'll want a clearing or something like that. But then it's an opportunity to ask permission to be on the land that your house is built before you move in, and make a connection with that space. Before you pull a tree out, ask, is it okay? Because it's, ruining your septic tank or whatever it might be. But there's a
yes.
whole awareness around we're not the only sentient beings on this earth, and that everything around us is sentient and has consciousness. And honoring that, or interacting with that, is part of, I think, our healing journey moving forward as humanity. Away, moving back towards the earth, moving back towards nature. And I think that's where you'll be supported to evolve yourself. When we talk about welcoming these two worlds of, being removed from nature, the more you move into it, the more you will be supported too. And I think that's, again, if we look back at the traveling, I was barefoot all the time and in nature all the time. And I was being supported to then learn more and experience more. And
Because you're a different frequency, right?
I'm a different frequency now. Yeah.
And I'm also hearing paradigms, different paradigms. I mean, that's what we were talking about before. You're in a different paradigm now, and people need to understand that, everyone's walking around in either their own paradigm or a collective paradigm of some sort.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not in the same paradigm you were when you were doing veterinary science, right?
No,
I
that's
bet
right.
you don't hang around with any of those people anymore.
Sometimes, that's the thing. It's about trying. I question whether that's why my life has led me to here, is to integrate what I've learnt back to support others to become more aware, whether it's in the farming industry, whether it's creating land healings, or offering land healings, or offering walks. The more you can um, meet people where they're at, regardless of what paradigm they're in, then I think that's where the work is. Because the more you encourage people, even if they're locked in that space, to come on a walk, they might not see a nature spirit, or have that experience, but they're starting something. They're
Yes.
unlocking something, and
Yes.
and it's a process. And
Well, they've
people
opened
will,
up a little door to another dimension, haven't they? And it's when you first make that shift, like I've spoken to lots of people, I've experienced it myself too. When you want to change your life, you step into a new paradigm, and at first it's kind of empty and a bit lonely.
yeah,
But then you start meeting other people who are doing exactly the same thing. And I hear from just talking to you and the experience you've had, the new reality that you're in has more loving, kind people. It has
yeah.
more love in it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And when you reconnect with people of a similar frequency, then one plus one doesn't equal two. One plus one equals like seven. And so if you're on a walk with like-minded people, your frequency is like this big, you're elevating your frequency just by being around these other people. And so you're creating the opportunity just by being in the frequency for magic to happen. And I, yeah, that's what makes things so
In the
incredible.
frequency for magic to happen.
Mm.
Love that. That's a Kylieism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I think with the Yowies or whenever these things happen, it's happening in ley lines. It's happening where we're moving into their space, not necessarily that they're coming into ours. For me, you elevating your frequency enough that you may have something that challenges you to question your reality. Because some people have some quite negative experiences, and that might be to jar them and within their reality to
Mm.
look at what else is here. What else is
Well,
we're all
sometimes it's just something I call it shock because
yes, yeah,
I
yeah,
have a channel of shock and I've experienced what I do to others or what I've had to experience. Shock wakes you up, It's
yes,
like because everyone's become sort of more trance-like and
yeah,
more unconscious. Some people need more of a punch than
yeah,
others do to kind of really sit up and take notice of reality. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think as we go forward, those of us that have a different perception on our reality or realities um, are here to support those that maybe are still coming out of that trance.
Yes.
And
It's okay. It's okay.
so, exactly. So, as much as you want to surround yourself with people of a similar frequency, I think sometimes the purpose for being here is to use what you know and to support others to the light you shine, you'll attract those people to you, and you might polarize others as well, but it's navigating all of that is part of this process of like what's happening right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's a bit like I'm thinking of there's an image out there where there's a sort of a um what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a one of those globes, those little
yeah,
globes where you shake it up, right? And
yeah,
somebody has just stuck his head just outside that globe,
yeah,
having a look at what's outside those
yeah,
parameters. And
yeah,
that's what people like you are doing, right?
yeah,
Stepping outside there and testing it out and going, it's okay.
yeah,
It's okay. And you're also, we were grown up to think of ghosts and ghoulies and demons
mm,
and all that stuff. But the things that you've met along the way have respect for you, have even the alien craft tried to look like something that was more acceptable so that it wouldn't really kind of
frightened,
frighten you. And even
yeah,
the owie was just sort of padding along beside you, not kind, like everything that you actually in this reality that you're talking about have
mm,
respect for you and kindness.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's because you meet them with that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
meet them with that, and I think that's what we offer others as well. You
Yes.
meet you
Yes.
meet them with that.
You're heralding the way and saying, I've tested it out. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
Come along and take a walk with me, right? Come and
yeah,
experience this. So you've got your own website, haven't you? Tell us what the
yes.
website is.
It's gratefulhealing.com.au. So I've got some pictures up there of ley lines. I've got comparisons for people where you can see a ley line, and then I've circled the energy so that you can
There's
start
evidence,
to get
folks. There's
yes.
evidence. Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's other podcasts and other bits and pieces that I've been doing, what I offer for land healings and things like that, and
So tell me
walks.
how the land healings work. What can you help people with?
Yeah, normally I would do, I can do both on-site and remote, but most of the work now is remote. So basically, if people are wanting to go ahead and have a land healing, I just need a property map, and we do the work through psychometry. So It's using sort of quantum physics or quantum healing, and then I'll pop certain crystals into certain positions to anchor those frequencies. But the healing will take place when it's been done. The crystals are more of a physical tool to place into position just to anchor those the healing work that's been done.
Yeah. And what about where you're headed? I mean, you started, here we go, back there with I'm going to do a wellness center. Um, and now, where are you headed? Where's that going to go? Now you've had all this myriad of experience in between.
I'm not sure. I feel like I'm in a bit of a transition at the moment, and I guess it's about trusting that process. I do feel like there's going to be a convergence. I feel like there's a convergence of networking, people meeting people that are meant to meet each other, and the different people that you speak to is creating, I feel like, a convergence of that. And so I'm not sure how it looks. I think my role is to just um, trust myself,
Yeah.
work on myself, heal myself. The more I can love and heal myself, the more I can offer others, I think, to support them on their journey
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
I love that you said you don't know
I
because
don't know.
I think part of the path is reinventing yourself and
Yeah.
letting that go and reinventing yourself and letting it go. It's like we keep evolving and changing quite quickly, quite quickly.
Absolutely. And even in recent times, like there's synchronous, like very recently, jobs and different things that are happening that are beyond explanation. And so when those things, even though I question some of the things, it's like I have to trust this because the way it's evolved is beyond my understanding. And so therefore, whatever the role is, I'll trust that in the right time, I'll know what that means.
And
Yeah.
isn't that lovely? Because I think that there's a natural part of us where we don't get into all the detail. We don't
Yeah.
psychoanalyze everything that's coming along. Um,
Yeah.
Trust is something very different. You either know it or you don't know it, and
Yeah.
yeah, you embrace it and move on.
Well, that is that trust, like the when you don't know the answers, but then like just to reiterate, you say when you know something and you know that action is required, then you go full, like you commit
Mm.
and you take action, and then you pause. And it's okay, well, I'll trust this now. I'm not sure what the next step is, but when the next set of circumstances or coincidences sort of present themselves,
Yeah,
then you know that's go time for the next step. Yeah.
it's a beautiful way to put it. It's a very beautiful way to put it. So,
Yeah.
for anybody listening out there that is having their whole world either tapped at by nature or other things going on, and are being, challenged and questioned to start thinking differently, like what happened to you, what would you
Mm.
say to them? How
Go
would
for a
you
walk.
go?
Go to
Oh, yeah.
go to the beach. Take your shoes off. Get away. Go camping with the kids. Just yeah.
You just don't know what will happen in that experience. You're absolutely right, because people could stand at the edge and go, I'll do that tomorrow, or I can't see the point.
Yeah.
It's in the experience itself when you do it, isn't it?
That's right. Just get, and if you can't do that, like if you physically got some challenges or whatever, go and sit in your garden. Go and touch your trees and talk to them. Like just start to connect with the natural world. Like it's we are the natural world. We've just, I think, forgotten about it a little bit.
Yeah, we are the natural world. That's a beautiful place to end because we're done.
Thank you.
Our hour's up. I can't believe
Okay.
it. I had no idea we were going to go round and round into these beautiful realms and dimensions that we
Yeah.
have. It's been
Yeah.
a pleasure. And I want to thank you so much,
Thank you.
Kylie, for being the courageous and the brave 10-year-old that is, right here in front of me right now. Um,
Yeah.
she's exploring the world. She's having a blast. She's having a good time, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. No, thank you for having me, Helen. It's been fabulous.
You're
So,
welcome. And for
okay.
everybody that wants to connect with you, I'm going to put your website in the
Yep.
show notes so everyone can find out a bit more about what you're all about and
Okay.
start exploring nature, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Fantastic.
Thank you, love. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.